I want to come to a matter of great importance, which is the case. I know it's a matter of some great discomfort, but I actually want to start the conversation on the case with an observation which I had made when I met Highness in December of 2018. Your Highness had allowed me to access the Ravi Verma paintings for my book. And Your Highness took me into your study. And I love studies, I love libraries. And what I saw was there was this big volume of the Constitution of India, and Highness had bookmarked everything. She had underlined it, and she was making notes. And I turned to Your Highness and I said, why? I have to actually say exactly what I said. I said, Your Highness is doing something which we lawyers haven't done for ages. And Your Highness replied, no, I'm going to instruct, I think it was at that point of time K.K. Venugopal who was appearing for you. To put across to him, which is also something which we lawyers, most of us don't do. To be so involved in a litigation which threw up contents from a temple. I mean, I'll tell you how bad it was. It was like someone comes into your locker and throws everything out. And it was all over the papers. $1 trillion of this, so much, it's richer than the Vatican. The family finally won the case last year. And what is very important to observe that in the judgment, the book which is most extensively quoted is the one there on the Padmanabha Swami. The Supreme Court refers to the book. The temple was saved, but where you used to have flower vendors, you have security guards. Where you have priests, you have guards. Where you have people who used to carry a shengolo or a chhatri, you have AK-47s. And where attention was undivided towards the Lord, you are distracted. Where's the treasure? Is it in that room? Is it in this room? This was the sad outcome of a litigation won. Your Highness, I would like to ask you, how was it to be one of the people to defend the temple?
That is a question you want me to answer.
Yes.
Because you have touched upon many aspects of it. But I will keep to what you have asked just now.
No, you're most welcome to.
No.
Highness is being diplomatic.
No, I'm not being diplomatic because there is, anyway, what did you say now?
How was it to be a litigant and defend the temple? And what did you feel when all of this happened?
I will answer the first question last. We were told on Saturday, August 11th, that the verdict was coming out on Monday. Obviously, the verdict is all final by Saturday. There are so many people, I'm not talking of my family, so many people even in America, mainly Keralites, Malayalis, Travancoreans in America and so many places who have not slept, who stayed up the whole night with a lamp lit reading Bhagavatam, people who fasted, people who were so much agitated, anxious about the outcome. What I did was, my members of the family, in different ways. I'm only talking for myself. Sunday night, as usual, I went to bed. I normally go to bed a little late, not out of option, but out of circumstances. And I slept. And woke up You must be thinking, you are also a very polished man, you won't say, but otherwise you must think, oh my God, how insensitive. But it's not a question of insensitive. I had reached a stage when the case had reached half of its 9.5 years of Supreme Court, 9.5 years of ups and downs like a yo-yo, 9.5 years when you heard things we have never dreamt of, when accusations and so many things were thrown at you. The amicus curiae report was something horrendous. Anyway, but after the case reached about half, my mind had reached a situation by which I had stopped praying for the success of the case. When you fight a case, you want to win. Absolutely. Absolutely. But I had personally stopped praying to Bhagavan, please let us win the case. Instead, I developed a Mahamantra for myself. Bhagavan put it in my mind. It was not a Guru Upadesha or anything. It just came into my mind, and that was only this: Jaya Jaya Padmanabha. That's all. So when I go to the temple, when I leave for Delhi for the Supreme Court, Jaya Jaya Padmanabha. That is all. So even when we heard on Saturday about the verdict, it was Jaya Jaya Padmanabha. I remember when the case reached the Supreme Court first, and I went to meet Sri K.K. Venugopal, one of the most illustrious legal luminaries, who is now the Attorney General of India. He was representing our case, and in the first meeting or second meeting, maybe first, he asked me a question. He said, what would you say if you lost the case? I didn't have to think about the answer. My reply was only this: corpses don't talk. You are dead and gone. The corpses don't talk. So there's nothing to say. Anyway, with this, I didn't know what was going to come. I definitely did not know whether we are going to win, whether we are going to lose, and I did not expect this sort of sweeping victory. There were so many loopholes, so many pitfalls, thanks to the report and things like that. But my conviction was that he will win in the end. And when the master wins, what more does the slave want? However, having said that, the verdict was coming at 10:30 in the morning. All the members of my family who were present in Thiruvananthapuram, all of us were sitting in front of the TV. Our staff, our officers of the household, they were all present. I agree and admit that at about 10:15, I did feel a sense of uneasiness, a sense of disquiet. I kept on repeating to myself, but even then, having not reached perhaps that stage of elevation, and then the TV, a girl appeared on the TV. The first sentence she said was, it was Malayalam, Sri Padmanabha Swami Kshetrathile കേസിൽ തിരുവിതാംകൂർ രാജകുടുംബത്തിന് പരിപൂർണ വിജയം. Complete victory to the Travancore royal family on the Sri Padmanabha Swami case. I didn't hear anything more. They went on more because the phone started ringing. And the phone that started ringing did not stop ringing for 3 days, except when at night we switched it off. Next day was my birthday. What bigger birthday present can destiny give me? Next day when I went, anyway, what is the next question? I'm sorry, I'm not acquitting myself very well. I'm very sorry about it.
I wanted to ask about how it was to be a woman litigant in a very male-dominated
Well,
world.
that I don't know. I found so many women flapping about in black, in black cloaks and in saris, and I mean litigants and deciders of destinies. So many of them were flapping about. I saw so many of them there, and even in our advocate's office, there were quite a few ladies.
Huh.
So I didn't feel anything particular about that.
I'm happy you say that because then really times I think are beginning to change on what is considered to be a very male-dominated.
Well, I must tell you one thing. You know of nicknames. People give nicknames to people. I have a nickname.
You must.
I have many nicknames, incidentally. I have many. I could have a Sahasranama maybe, or at least an Artha Sahasranamam. But one of the nicknames, my own family, they have never said to my face as such, but I know they do, vicariously get it across. They call me Vakil. Vakil is, as you know, advocate. Well, I don't mind. I don't mind.
No, I think it's very laudable.
Till I became a Vakil, we were doctors without degrees. Now I have got a double distinction. I am a doctor without a degree and I am a Vakil.
No, I keep telling many of my clients that a seasoned client is better than the lawyer.
No, true. I tell you, true, because...
Some of them laughed louder than the rest.
No, that is true, because for the client, it is something so personal. So, for the advocate, it is one among many. For the client, it is only one.
I think Revati is going to take this question.
About this vault that we hear so much about. So, what is it? Yeah.
So before Highness answers, I was hesitant to ask this question, otherwise I'm going to get beaten down by Highness. So I told Revati, you're most welcome to own the question, and I'm sure you would like to own the vault as well. So
Well, the woman's chauvinism, what is it supposed to be? Well, I don't think, about myself, because he said I'll beat him down. Anyway, with regard to the vault, some of you at least in this circle, Chudamani is there, my brother Balakrishna is there. There are people who have come very much to the temple, often to the temple, and of course yourself not so often as you should, but still. Many, who have come, whom we know. I'm sure there are many people who have come otherwise also. But you will understand that when this explosion, the media exploded with the stories about the wealth, I still do not know how they have come to this calculation. It keeps on going up every day. The wealth, how have they, it's never been valued. It has been only inventorized. It has never been valued. Then specifically coming to the B Kallara, or the so-called B Kallara. The Supreme Court and its representatives, its alter ego included, decided in its all wisdom to give alphabets, A, B, C, D, E, to the vaults. And B vault has been the vault which has created a most speculation, interest, etc. Mahabharata Kona vault, Mahabharata Kona Kallara, Sri Bhandara Kallara, A Kallara, B Kallara. B Kallara has not been opened. People say, knowledgeable people within quotation, claim that it has been opened. B Kallara has got an antechamber, a railed antechamber, which has been opened a number of times, and that has been documented also in the register. But to the best of our knowledge, the B Kallara, main Kallara, has not been opened. All sorts of fancy stories, wild rumors have been circulating around it. They say that on the door there are serpents, and so many pictures we see. We are told that's the B Kallara. So, with the serpents, and they say that the lock can be only opened by some Sarpa mantra or Vayu mantra, something, or all sorts of things. And then another visual we saw with horror, which went all over the world, and people from all over the world kept on asking us, what is this, what is this? That is the inside of the vault, inside of B. Kallara. There are about 6 or 7 people, all foreigners, with most of them with gold hair and light eyes and all that. All mummified. They're all dead. About 6 or 7 corpses are sitting there. Secret of the B. Kallara. What else next? So, I mean, this is all absolute nonsense. But the B. Kallara, to the best of our knowledge, has not been opened. You may ask why. We ourselves have opposed opening it. We have very strongly opposed it. The Tantris, the spiritual, the top people in the ecclesiastical hierarchy, the Nambudiri Brahmins, the Tantris, they have opposed it. It is because of oral tradition. We cannot prove anything which says don't open. It's come down from generation. You prove it, we can't prove it. We just can't prove it. And another thing is, it is believed. Then these are the legends which are circling around it. We do not know. We do not know, first of all, the structure of the B. Kallara. We do not know the dimensions of the B. Kallara. We do not know from where it comes to where it goes. We do not know. We do not know the contents. But some people say that there are rishis in without body who are there. Deham illa, without deham, they are there immersed in contemplation. They should not be disturbed. Others say that there is a yakshi, a very virulent spirit, who was very, very virulent, and she came under Narasimha Swami's control, and she is sitting there in deep penance. She should not be disturbed. The more popular is that that the ocean of milk is there, and if you open the Kallara, the ocean will come out, and Trivandrum is going to suffer. But with regard to this ocean of milk, I have to say one thing. I do not know whether B. Kallara has ocean of milk or not, but in those of you who are familiar with the Sri Padmanabha Swami temple, within the Charajutta, Ottakal Mandapam, below near the Sri Rama shrine, in the Charajutta, if you look down, you will find among the granite strips of lead. It is through these places, before the lead came, that milk has boiled up. And it has been taken as tirtham. And this is recorded in our records. With the year, the date, everything given, it is recorded. The milk bubbled up. But we do not know about B. Kallara if it has it or not. Then a very important thing is, which was said in the Deva Prashna, Ashtamangala Prashna, is that there are some chakras, like the Sri Chakra, Sudarshana Chakra, there are chakras. The chakra is buried underground, and the charges from the chakra directly connect to the Moola Vigraha of Bhagavan. And if it is disturbed, if it is broken, then is there anybody who has the power to re-establish this? Oh, how can you see the power charges? That is all mumbo jumbo. Can you see how does a TV work? How does a radio work? Can you see? You can't. So these are the invisible, adrishya charges which connect. They should not be disturbed. These are the things we have heard. So we have said in our petition that you have opened up everything. Everything you have opened up and made public. Let this remain as a kshetra rahasyam. It should not be opened. And incidentally, when the wealth came, the emphasis on the wealth was so much, thanks to the media, so much of it was there, that when, as Ganesh said, when many people came to worship, their concentration or attention was on where is the wealth. I have even heard of a group, people coming, and among the group, one little boy, they are not from Kerala, one little boy is asking his father, Appa, and the tangam enge? See that you can't blame the boy, because this is what you hear all the time. Wealth, 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 stones. So of course there is wealth. And I must let you know, I have never gone to the bee cholera. I have never been to the antechamber of the bee cholera. I never knew where the bee cholera was situated till all these things came up, and it was pointed out to me, my son, this is where the bee cholera is. I have never been there, never seen it either. Jewelry, what little I know I can tell you. No, what little I know I can tell you, because all those things are inventorized. There are very, very precious things. There is a diamond waistband, beautiful diamond, I have not seen it. Then there is a big necklace with, surprisingly, with the Gandamaranda, that is the Mysore royal family's emblem, the two, on it, big necklace which the Bhagavan wears. Then there is a ring which replicates the entire Moola Vigraha, is shown in that ring. Emeralds, rubies, and there is a figure in gold of Vishnu, standing figure, big one, where a number of stones are placed on it. According to astrological calculations, the stones, here should be blue, here should be green, like that. And so many things, gold broom, I mean, so many things are there. But I do not know all this wealth, the calculation seems to be something only they know. But more than that, I mean, I don't want to go too deep into the actual wealth. It is because of all these that became so public that the security became such a necessity. Till that, the temple was guarded by the temple guard, whose only weapon was a stick, a short stick. That's all, nothing else. But I don't think we have rifles inside.
I have seen a man standing there with an AK-47.
Was it an optical illusion?
No. I have seen it. That's the reason why I found it to be very, very uncomfortable.
Yes, but
I mean, not really within the inner quadrangles, but they were there.
Outside, yes.
Yes,
Outside,
yes.
yes. But now all those things have reduced
Oh, is it?
greatly.
It wasn't an optical illusion. And I must also observe that I think Revati has been a better cross-examiner than I. She's got more information out of Highness. Highness, moving into the topic of your 13th book, History Liberated. Highness is the author, and this is the 13th book which he's written. The other thing which has been the subject matter of a very partial narrative has been the history of Travancore. When I say partial, I'm actually saying pun intended. What did you do to remedy it?
I was expecting the question. Yes. Some literature, because I'm being specific, because you asked that specific question, I'm giving a specific answer. Some literature had emerged. It is always very nice to say bad things about monarchy. It sells. If you talk about the royal families of India, write bad things about them, people are interested in buying them. If you write good things, they may not buy, they may buy. That's a risk. It's an economic gamble. But the other is sure. Anyway, whatever the reason may be, one or two highly objectionable books with questionable contents emerged. And focus was mainly on Maharaja Chitra Tirunal and his mother, Maharani Setu Parvati Bai, my mother's elder brother and my mother's mother. When these books came, it was very shocking. It was really and truly shocking. It took our breath away, but fortunately we had enough breath left to retort, one way or the other. So anyway, many people asked us, why don't you give a defamation case? If we gave a defamation case, it would not be possible, because at that time, the temple case was going on in the Supreme Court. And the temple may have a lot of wealth, but we certainly do not have that type of money which we could use to fight two high-flying cases. So we left it. But in the midst of the case itself, I started writing, because I also felt, and many people felt, if at least something is not there on paper, after our times, only these defamatory books would be there. There's nothing against it. That is one of the reasons. And once I started writing, then so many things came and it became more holistic. But definitely that was also one of the reasons, yes. Not that I want to say anything bad about anybody. I do not want to sling mud, nothing of the sort. But I have to answer. And I'm afraid I don't belong to that type of nobility where if you are slapped on one cheek, Jesus Christ said if somebody slaps him on one cheek, show the other cheek. But that was Jesus Christ. This is me. So if somebody slaps me on one cheek, I will try and catch him by the hand so that he does not slap my other cheek. And if possible, use his same hand to slap him back. Okay. Maybe that's old Kshatriya blood boiling.
I think that is a wonderful note on which I want you to give your closing remarks. Kshatriya blood, a princess, a poet, an author, and ladies and gentlemen, a football player. So, in case you're thinking of a very demure lady, there was a video of her playing football and she scored a goal.
Well,
I haven't finished.
Oh, you haven't finished?
Yeah, I haven't finished.
I'll forget by the time you finish.
No, because I'm laying the context.
Okay.
So, your advice to the women.
First thing last, about the football.
Always do that.
Yes, because that's the thing which it remains fresh in the brain. In my age, I may wish to be 14, but since both my sons are fathers, I can hardly pretend to be 30. Until the papers carried the news that I had turned 60, I was keeping a modest 45. Then I could no longer do that, and I had to. Anyway, so I'm not exactly young. And though it is my intention, God be willing, to carry on to a modest age of 104. Anyway, let us see how things go. Now, with regard to football, as children, my father was a great sportsman, Colonel G.V. Raja. As children, we all used to play football. That is true. And we had our staff who would be the teams. And always our team will win. Always, there's no doubt about it. But this thing which he's saying about is my grandson Vishnu, Gopika's son, my daughter-in-law, her son, he's almost football mad. And he's a very good footballer, and he had training in Madrid and in Manchester and all that. Anyway, he had a artificial turf done in Trivandrum on my sister's grounds. And he wanted us to go and see it. He had already gone to Australia by then to finish his post-graduation. So we went, my sister and I. She may not admit to it, but then she did not strike a goal, I'm sorry to say. Don't tell her.
It's on record.
Don't tell her. So anyway, she didn't. But I did. I shot 2 goals. I'm not... No, but I think you will take back the clap. You'll take back the clap when you hear the next sentence. That is the first goal I shot. There was no goalie at all. So there was no problem. The ball just rolled in. My sister always talks about that goal. She said, oh, what's there? There's no goalie there. But the next one, the goalie was there. He was possibly looking very busy, looking nice for the video, that he did not see the ball come. And I shot that. Honestly, I did. But apart from that, I'm definitely not a footballer. And I even threw a basketball into a basketball net, which was a feat because I'm the shortest in the family. And the basketball is very high. I don't know how it went. But other than that, I'm afraid I do not have any expertise. My sister would say that she also shot a ball and it went further than the minister who shot the ball. That is also true. So maybe we are mini footballers. My grandson is an expert. What was the next you said? I have forgotten.
Your advice to the women in the room.
In my dash years of life, one thing I have learned is never to offer advice. Nobody wants to hear anybody's advice, especially in such a gathering where you are women entrepreneurs, you are top members of society, and you make things flow. There is no stagnation. The world does not stagnate. Life does not stagnate. And you are representing that great truth. Flow. There is nothing stagnant. It's all movement. It's everything in flux. So to you, if I give an advice, I think I would really be singing out of tune. I don't know how to sing anyway. It's always out of tune. But this would be really out of tune. So instead of giving you any unwanted advice, I think Ganesh has something against me. Why you want me to give them advice?
I have nothing against you. You asked me to cross-examine you.
But this is cross-examination.
And I think finally I stumped you with the question.
Oh, well, you have not stumped me. You have not. You have not. Don't worry, don't worry. So I'm not going to give you any advice, but in conclusion, I'm only reminding you of a very famous sentence which Maharshi Vedavyasa said. 18 Puranas, including Mahapuranas, were categorized by him. Even one Purana, how many of us? Some of you might, yes, you might have read. Some of you would have perhaps read the Puranas, at least some of them, but very few, including me, have not read the whole thing, even one. So he said, he condensed, compressed the quintessence of the 18 Puranas in one sentence. As an introduction to that sentence, the commentator has added one more sentence. In Malayalam, it is Ashtadasha Puranathil Vyasan Chonnadu Randutan. In the Ashtadasha Puranas, Vyasan has only said two things. Two things. This is what Vyasa said. That's the only thing I have to share with them, which they know already. Paropakarame punyam papame parapidanam. That's all that everybody understands. I don't have to explain. That is the only thing that I have to share with you. It is something you know, which most of you are doing in your own daily life. How much you are doing? Seen, unseen, seen, unseen, heard, unheard, silently, openly, you are doing it. So I am only sharing that thought with you, something which you already know and which you are already practicing, and no advice. Ganesh, I have an advice for you. I have an advice for you, dear boy. Never ask anybody for advice.
Noted.
Noted, Your Honor.
So on that very happy note, I'm going to open the floor to questions. Would anyone like to take questions?
So we have some questions that have been coming on the WhatsApp group. This is immensely one of the best sessions that we've ever attended. Thank you so much, Your Highness. We have a few questions from the audience, and if anybody else would like to ask, we've kind of rigged this towards flow by creating a WhatsApp group, and people have been penning in questions. If any of Her Highness's guests have a question, please do just wave out, and we'll make sure that we pass the mic around to you as well. I'd like to start with Sharmila Ravinder, please. If Ganesh, yeah, it's okay. Thank you so much.
I admit my age. I'm an old lady. Please be kind.
Hello. Good evening, Your Royal Highness. Namaskaram. Firstly, I'd like to pay salutations to Lord Padmanabha Swami for having you here. I'm a very big devotee of Lord Venkateshwara, and honestly, I was so emotional just to see your supreme devotion. No words. I go to Tirumala at least twice a month, sometimes even thrice a month. And for me, just to stand in front of Kulashekara Padi and witnessed the same emotions that you described in terms of sometimes seeing him smile, sometimes seeing him like, a small boy. I just connected with that instantly. I'm quite close to the Archakars of Lord Venkateshwara. They've been serving him for millions and millions of years, and they are fortunate to cross the Kulashekara Padi and and touch him and serve him. And just to hear you speak and connect with that has just been, one of possibly Lord Venkateshwara's gift to me, to have an audience with you. Emotions besides my emotions around that, the question I have for you today is, what is your perception, Your Royal Highness, in terms of freeing temples from government control? Because what I observe in Tirumala is sometimes, the Archakars are forced to hurry up the practices, the observations, the religious duties, just because they have to meet certain times, whether it's for darshan of public or streaming of, channel requirements on TV. So one is, that part of the question in terms of freeing up government control from temples, from Hindu temples. And the second is, if you could just share any small instance with your connect with Lord Padmanabha Swami, any miraculous instance, we would be very privileged to hear that. Thank you so much, Your Highness.
I totally agree with you. First of all, thank you very much for the wonderful words you spoke to me. They have played on my heartstrings. Thank you so much. With regard to government freeing temples from government control, it is very much now a topic under discussion, and not only discussion, it's going to the court in many ways. Chidambaram itself got freed from, went back to the Dikshitas. Anyway, government control for a religious institution, you can't call a temple a religious institution anyway, it's a very bad term, but whatever it may be, is something which is not really feasible. Now, governments come, governments go. Supposing it is a government which does not, which has declared non-believers, they don't believe in God, and the temples, the deity in the temple is always a perpetual minor in law, in terms of law. So a perpetual minor needs a guardian. If it is the government which is going to be the guardian, and if it is a government which is made up of non-believers, people who do not believe in God, how can you protect the interests of an entity which you yourself say does not exist? How can you do that? I mean, it's absolutely impossible. So anyway, it is a very, very vital question that the temples should be independent of government control. What is the next? About the experience. I will tell you a very small experience which is connected with Bangalore area itself. My uncle had told me, once I had come here to Bangalore, something or other, so he said, go to Shivaganga. And because there, when you pour ghee, it becomes butter. How? You do not know. So anyway, and then he said there is another water source where you take the water, and people who have done bad things, they won't get the water. So he said, you go there. So I had a thought about it, whether I should go or not, one way or the other. It may not be. Then a friend of mine was coming, Bala Sitaraman. Bala Sitaraman and myself, we were both going together. No, not Bala. She opted out. Nine anyway, it doesn't matter. So we both were going out. So I told her, we'll do one thing. We will go to Shivaganga proper, worship at Shiva's, and then come back. We won't go to the water source, because water source is high up. You have to go a long way. You have to really climb and climb and climb. So I said, I think we won't go there. We'll come back. She said, no, since we have come. And my uncle also said, you go. So I said, uncle, I don't think it's a very good idea. because I'm just thinking of all the past bad deeds I've done and things like that. And why make it public? One way or the other. So then finally we decided we would go. We went to Shivaganga, and they showed us an opening through which there is a tunnel, which they believe goes right into Mysore. And that the treasury of the Mysore royal family to an extent was kept there. And fearing the attacks from unwelcome sources, they had kept them there and all that. Anyway, that is whatever it may be. We went, we climbed and we climbed and we climbed. We are not reaching. And then Sheila told me, Princess, my heart is bursting. Look at the thing. I said, Sheila, don't look up, always look down. Don't look up, look down, then we have at least reached that height. Finally, we puffed and panted and reached the place. And there's a little Shiva temple. So we were wondering where the water source is. As we were circumambulating the Sri Kovil, immediately on the right of the Sri Kovil, as though made of a beautiful compass, a perfect circle, big circle in the rock, full of water, brim full of water. That is the source. So I immediately said, oh, look at the water, brimming. So Sheila said, okay, Princess, you take the water first. So I said, yes, why not? And I thought to myself, what's the problem? It's so full. So I looked at Sheila, and I'm looking at Sheila as I'm putting my hand into this, and Sheila is standing there. She's not even smiling. I'm smiling. Then I stopped smiling in a hurry because I can't get the water. Then I look, the water has gone down a little. I put my hand a little more. It went down a little more. Then finally I was lying on top of that hole with my hand up to here. Up to here. I couldn't get the water. Pulled the hand out, pulled myself up. I told Sheila, you try, Sheila. At least Sheila has seen this. The other people may not know me. So Sheila said, oh, now what to do? By that time, water had started very, very capricious. It had started coming up. And she got the water. She got the water. Oh, that made things a little more awkward for me. And then immediately, a group of school children came. School children. And they came, little tiny tots. They all got the water. I'm standing there looking like I don't know what, looking at it, and then everybody is getting the water. Then Sheila said, now Princess, you try again. I said, no, I don't want to try. You got water in your hand, I'll take a little bit of that water. If it's not dried up, that's enough. She said, no, Princess, you try once more. Then she said, what did you think when you were taking the water? It came as a thunderbolt to me. What did I think? All I thought was, what's the problem in getting the water? This is what I thought. True. Then it was like a thunderbolt. Somewhere, thousands of miles away, in a rocky terrain, I'm standing, and Padmanabha Swami is telling me, you have forgotten me? I immediately, it's all in me. I said, Bhagavane, Padmanabha. I went down. I got the water. I got the water. So he was telling me, you have forgotten me, but I am reminding you not to forget me. I cannot be forgotten. I have never forgotten that. I agree that if I had not got the water second time, I would never tell you the story. It's not a story, it's a real thing. I would not tell you that. No, I would keep quiet about it. Add it on to one of the darker sides of my life and keep quiet. But I did get the water. I think it is a miracle. Like that, quite a few miracles I have experienced. But as an English lady once asked me, I'm going to get one on you now. As an English lady once asked me, can you tell me about the Sri Padmanabha Swami temple? So I said, yes. How long do you have to listen to me? Do you have 6 months? She said, oh, well, that seems to be a long time. So I said, have you 2 minutes instead of 6 months? Oh, that's better. That's more reasonable. So within 2 months, whatever I said, I know what I said, which I think maybe I will, that is but that's not the topic, so I won't say that. Anyway, so like that, I'm asking, experiences you said, oh, she said, sorry, you got one up. I admit defeat, it's not you. It's not. So, I mean, the experiences are there, and it will take too long a time to share, but I have had the blessing of experiences, some of them, not a huge number, but some of them, and every day that I go to the temple, every day I stand before him with folded hands. It is an experience, a miracle.
Could I request the mic to be passed to past chairperson now?
Highness, this is the most humbling experience to have you here with us and to listen to the joy of the temple. I think I have a nickname for you, Lioness.
I beg your pardon?
I have a nickname for you, Lioness.
Lion. Oh, I will tell you about that. I'll tell you about that. Please continue.
So, my question is that you've been part of this legacy. When did your being with the God actually turn into faith? When did the first time he talked to you and you realized, yes, he's there?
I don't know. I cannot put a date to it. Maybe from the time we had reached an age of comprehension, one of the most used terms that we have heard in the family is Padmanabha Swami temple, etc. So maybe from that time on, but to specifically say when, I do not know. I just don't know. But coming to the easier part of it, about the lion, I must say you have a good idea, because when I went to Maldives, I had a photograph of myself taken specifically with a real live lion in front of me to send to the amicus curiae. But I didn't get around to sending it to Gopal. That's another thing.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
We have a question from Sangeeta Podar and Monica. Could I request both of you all to, Sangeeta and Monica, if you could just ask your questions together, because we are running short of time as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Your Highness, for all the input you've given us. Padmanabhan temple was very, very, I was so curious about it all the time, that where do I get to hear, the real legacy behind it. I'm so fortunate, and all of us are, to, have you with us here. So my question would be, I recently visited the Padmanabhan Swami temple, and I saw that there were 3 dwars to it. Then this is the only temple where I've seen that there are 3 dwars to it, and it was dark inside. So what is the history behind it?
The 3 doors or the 3 nadas through which only you can view Bhagavan, it has a symbolic significance. The entire Sri Kovil, inside the Sri Kovil, there is a lot of symbolic significance. Now, how to give it in one, you'll have to allow me to speak 3 sentences. That is, Swami Padmanabha is he who has the Nabhi, who has the Padma or the lotus in the Nabhi or the navel. And he is one of the 24 basic forms of Vishnu, unlike Narasimha or Krishna, Rama, they are all avatars. Padmanabha is not. Now here, he's made of, the Moolavar is made of Katishakra Bimba, and I think I'll leave all that. There is a story, the Sthala Purana, which says that Vilomangalam, who had the final darshan of Bhagavan, who was such a huge form, his about 18 miles long he was. So Vilomangalam said, please shrink to 3 times the size of my danda, so that I can circumambulate you. And he shrank. That is one. The 3 doors may be indicative. And then again, I'm not going into the symbolic significance of the Anantashayanam. Only if you go into that, this will have any specific meaning, but that will take time, so I don't know to do it. And the 3 doors represent the parchment of time. Only when you are able to go through the veil of Maya and time, it is easier to reach the Supreme. The 3 doors, past, present, future.
I think Monica's question is a little bit risky compared to all the others, but we are sure that it will be interesting. This thing. Can you just pass?
The question is slightly a-spiritual. The question is about, the control of the funds that the temple owners have along with the government, or at least the control on the use of the fund. Can that funds, or can those funds be used for sanitation, which is the biggest problem of our country? And also the fact that there are maximum number of temples in the most unsanitized areas of our country. So can there be a link between these two? Because permanently there are going to be funds in the temples. They're never going to run out of funds.
The funds to use the wealth of the temple for public purposes may not happen, because the temple is not a secular institution. It is a religious institution. It would need its own sources of finance and income, the demands are getting more and more. The amounts are becoming more and more, and it may not be possible to do that. However, through government mechanism, to take it away would be unthinkable. It's just not done. I don't think any temple would really agree to that. At the same time, we could say, with all due respect, the temples are richer than maybe churches and mosques and places like that. Temples definitely have more wealth. But bank balances, lands, the other religions also have. Nobody is asking them to sell their land and give it to make a road. Why only a temple?
Thank you so much. Now, I'd like to just quickly announce also that the books are here for sale. For those of you all who would like to, after this session, to just, I think Ganesh's team is there to help with that. It's right at the entrance. I think the princess has also graciously agreed to sign some of the copies of those of you all who would like to purchase the books. Multiple, I think both this as well as the previous book are both available here for sale. But it's been a fascinating session, and I'd like to quickly call on Deepthi Aradhya to deliver the vote of thanks for the evening.
Pranam Stamburati. Firstly, I want to say that this book talks about women's empowerment. Ganesh, I'm supporting you in this. This is in relation to the last question you asked. This book talks about women's empowerment in those days. Your grandmother empowered herself in the most adverse situation. So it is a great eye-opener to women of today. And my question was, the royals of Travancore were very, very progressive, way ahead of their time even for generations. But till today, you have kept up the traditions and culture of Travancore without any dilution. How has that been possible?
Padmanabha. That is all. If we have been able to do anything, it is only His grace and the blessings of our ancestors, especially Chitratirunal. Whatever we are able to do in little ways, we have been able to do some things, but He has always told us, what the right hand does, let not the left hand know. So many of the things we have been fortunate enough to do do not come out. We don't talk about that. But otherwise, anyway, it is right. And I must, well, that's it.
That's a wonderful note to end this on. I'd like to request Deepthi to deliver the vote of thanks, please.
May I give you one warning before that?
Yes.
This charming lady, very pretty lady, I'm very bad at names.
Divya.
Divya Purnaya, of course. Divya Purnaya. I know her so well. You see, that age is catching on, one way or the other. She said that, Madam, myself, will autograph the books. Of course, I can autograph. I'll gladly autograph. But just one word of my handwriting had always been the despair of my mother. So if you don't mind an awful handwriting, fine. I'm ready.
We were lucky to have some of the earliest copies from your from this book. Thank you so much.
Your Highness, it has indeed been a pleasure and privilege of the ladies of Vicky Flow, Bangalore, to have this opportunity to meet you and hear about your personal journey, your passion for writing and for Lord Padmanabha Swami, and the humility with which you carry your legacy is truly inspiring for all of us. May we carry all this simple humility with us before we leave this evening. Thank you, Ganesh, for moderating this event, and Revati, our chairperson, for putting this together. I would also like to thank all the guests of honor who are here this evening, and above all, the FICCI members who trekked down on a Sunday evening to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, one and all of you, for the wonderful welcome that you have given me. Thank you, Revati, and thank you, every one of you. It will make me, inspire me to flow in a better manner. Thank you.
We have a small token of our appreciation. Could we please request Past Chairperson Nam to please come forward? And I'd like to request Deki and Vandana to just help us with this. We also would like to thank our moderator for the evening. Thank you so much, Ganesh. It was a lot of fun to listen to your questions. For those of y'all who would like to buy the copies of the book, it's available at the entrance, and high tea is served for everybody else.